Okay, I'm just going to start out by stating what is obvious to all of us. It is 96 degrees out here today, and it is 2:20. I anticipate that that number will continue to escalate till about 4 o'clock when it will finally and hopefully begin to cool down just a little bit. So we're going to try to stay in the shade as much as possible as I answer a lot of your follower questions, comments, suggestions, concerns, just one right after another. It's been a while since I have done that, and it's a little bit cooler activity for me to undertake since it is so hot out right now. So what do you say, guys? Let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to start out with a gift. We just got back. We'd done some shooting elsewhere, and I just got back, and there were some little treats, gardening treats for me on the table on the social patio. And this is from a longtime follower, now friend, Carlina Elizabeth. And can I just say, if I didn't love her so much, I would hate her, because she is one of the most talented people I know. Every year she brings me some of my favorite starts of zinnias, of just a whole plethora of different things, including, I mean, look at these precious pots she makes.
Cool. She makes those?
She makes these.
That
and
is
isn't it so precious? You can tell I just watered it. And I've got another one of these with the same motif on it. And then see Carlina Elizabeth. She is an incredible painter, potterer, gardener, wonderful all-around human being. So I want to start with a big thank you to her, because I did not know any of this stuff was coming, and she just brought it. And Leah just about died when she saw this cute little tiny pepper. She just,
well, yeah.
I mean, so
Look at,
yeah. And she just brought this stuff. So thank you, my darling. We haven't talked in a while, so we need to visit. Please check out her Instagram page. We'll put a link below, and her website, because man, she is talented. She's just incredible. I'm just at a loss for words, and I'm not even going to apologize if I don't sound like I make sense, because it is so hot, and I think I need to stay more hydrated.
Indeed.
So, okay, so Leah, take it away. What is one of our first followers? We've had so many recently.
So many questions. So we'll just get through what we can and comment more down below.
Yeah, comment more, right.
Okay, first one is from Sunny Suttles, and she asked if you can specify the name of the daisies you showcased.
Okay.
Over by Autumn's Edge.
Yes, and Stuart, right here, let's put a picture of them, because these aren't your regular old Becky daisies. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but this is a beautiful, beautiful variety from Southern Living called, this one is Real Charmer. And it is a Shasta daisy. It is double, which is why I love them. It can handle full sun, which is another reason I love them. It's relatively drought tolerant once it gets established, and it is hardy down to -20 to zones 5 through 9. So I really love it. I have it planted on Autumn's Edge, and I think I referred to in the last video how brilliant I think it would look with the white wedding hydrangeas. I think we might show that picture again, Stuart. So I ordered some more of these that I'm going to be planting. These don't have any blooms on them. That's fine. And in fact, I did notice that the first year I planted them, they were slow to bloom, but boy, this year they are stellar and very dramatic. Okay. Moving on. Oh, and here's the care tag if you want to do a screenshot. This.
I hadn't focused. There we go. 1, 2. Okay.
Okay. Improved disease resistance too. Okay. And next.
Next, let's move to another part of the garden.
Okay. Well, we're not going to move far.
Oh, wait. What are we talking about next?
Well, I don't remember specific. I remember some of them, but I want to talk about, because it was our question of the day last time. Give me recommendations on what I can do to protect my pumpkin vines, because I am not a pumpkin farmer. And some of these things I may have known in the past, but I forget. That just happens. Okay, so I'm going to reveal the one I remember.
Yeah, I got a couple too.
Okay, and that was a follower who recommended, because and you'll see over here, I'm having to get in the sun for a minute, so I'll try not to collapse. But over here, I was wanting to protect the vines and my little pumpkins, of which I believe there are now 4, from sow bugs, from beetles, from just different things, but particularly underneath this long vine that is a little bit too rambunctious for me to train up the tutor. And by the way, I will look to see if we can find a link for this tutor. It comes from Gardener's Supply. So someone suggested I put diatomaceous earth underneath, and I'm just gonna kind of scatter it. Yeah, yeah, I know, it's hard. It's hard to kind of deter all of those roly-polies, which I'm kind of sad because I am like a little kid. I like a good roly-poly, but nevertheless, I don't want them eating my pumpkins. So look here, Stuart.
Where we at?
Okay, look.
Oh,
that's another pumpkin. That's a different pumpkin. And there's, look at that. There's one. Oh, I think there's one there. I'm not sure. Where's the big one? Oh, right there.
I can't see where the shooter is. I got it.
Got it?
Yep.
Got it. Okay, in the last episode, we talked about Japanese beetles that were attacking my It's a Breeze rose, and there were a number of different comments on this. And Leah, read one of them.
This one, Judy says, neem oil will kill good and bad bugs. If you would, tell people to spray in the evening when the bees and butterflies are not feeding.
Yes, and I should have mentioned that. Thank you for letting us know that. But this is also where I will say I recently read the newsletter by James Clear, and one of his things was, and I cannot remember who he was quoting, but the quote was, "Don't believe everything you think." And I think this applies to so much in gardening. And what do I mean by that? Well, in my mind, I am referencing what I'm thinking of as some information that I read from Oregon State University a while back about neem oil, that it is botanical, it is, kind to bees and that kind of thing. I should have said, yes, do it in the evening. Some of you said it's not good to use it at all, and you shouldn't use it at all, and you should only use physical control, like literally picking them up and putting them in soapy water. One person, Jordan, I think this was you, very dramatically said, get rid of the It's a Breeze rose, which that is not going to be an option. But I think it's one of those things. The literature on this changes, it seems to me, all of the time. And so as gardeners, don't always believe what we think, because I think I know what best practices are, and I try to share that with you. But when you guys know that there's updated literature or updated research on a topic, please do share it with me, preferably not in a snarky way, but in a kind way like this follower did, because research is constantly changing. And I noticed that there was an article in Garden Gate magazine. Get your subscription here. And by the way, Garden Gate, I can't wait to go with you to Scotland next week. That there was an article about how to deter them, maybe with some companion plantings. I personally think that no matter what you do, you are still going to have these Japanese beetles on your roses, and that's just the way it is. It's just like it's hot as the dickens out here. That's what we're going to get as soon as the heat hits. So I can't stand out here in this sun too much longer, so let's move to another location. Okay, we're kind of hopping. You'll notice a pattern here. We're going from sun to shade, shade to sun to shade, so that we can get a little bit of respite in between. Stuart doesn't even have on his mosquito repellent gear because it is so hot and there's barely even a breeze. But this area right here was the catalyst for a number of different questions, Leah, related to the furniture. What were some of the other ones?
Oh, just people wondering if your neighbors enjoy your garden as much as you do over here.
So I love my neighbors. They're absolutely fascinating. Lori is so well read. She used to be a manager at a Barnes & Noble bookstore, and she's now the mission director at St. Luke's Church, and she's always coming up with just really great ideas. She was the one who, it was her idea to do a walking Wednesday thing where she brought a lot of people to walk from St. Luke's here to see the garden. She is very fit. She's always out exercising, and her husband, he teaches scuba diving. In other words, they have many and varied interests, and they're kind of interested in gardening, but not really. So some of you keen-eyed observers noticed that these chairs were mine, and indeed they were. And this is a great tip. And that is, if you've got something that is no longer useful for its intended purpose, i.e. sitting down, then use it for another purpose. And I still love the way these chairs look. We didn't want to discard them, and it was Lori's idea to put them there as a nice focal point and a backdrop behind my seating troughs and behind this area. And yes, one of them is broken in the seat, the other one is not, which is why the cushions are there. And yes, somebody could sit there and visit with me, I guess, while I'm gardening, but we are the type that neither one of us pretty much ever sits down. Nope. And if we do, we're sitting on either my social patio or on her nice shaded porch. So they are there mostly as a focal point. So I think that's a really good tip. If something is still attractive but no longer serves its original purpose, there might be a way that you can rethink its good looks and use them in that way. Lori loves the garden. She's brought groups here. Her daughter just graduated from high school with a fabulous rowing scholarship, and they're just absolutely delightful. And whenever there is some kind of astronomical event, if there's an eclipse, if there is, well, any of that kind of thing, she is my go-to gal, and we come out here in the evening and we can talk from porch to porch. The other comment I would make on that is I think that this is a historical area, and it's very unique in that the houses are very close together, and that was very intentional because that was how people visited. Porches, you could shout from one porch to the other porch. You weren't so concerned about privacy the way suburban gardens are. And I have privacy in the back. I have a little privacy here with a privacy screen, as much to block out western wind as anything else. But that's a little bit about the dynamics of living in an urban, old, historic neighborhood. Is this context, and I talk a lot about garden fit and what fits. Okay, we had a little break there because we had, I don't know if it was AccuWeather or who it was, what apps you have, but we had an air quality alert because it is so hot and it is so still. And there's an air quality alert. Thank you, climate change. So anyhow, that's kind of a little bit about this area. And I think it's, know thyself, know how thy likes to garden, and know, what kind of living situation you like, which is very much one of the reasons that I moved from the other house to here, which I think is also another quote from James Clear in his newsletter, and let's make sure to put a link to that. And it was something to the effect of a reference that I have made many times when I moved from the other house to this house, and that is, make sure when you make a change or a move that you are moving to somewhere and not away from somewhere. And that really obviously resonated with me because I had framed it just that way in the past. So it's all about finding, lifestyle fit and whatever. And I love the fit of being close to my neighbors. It also gives me a sense of security that if something is wrong or whatever, I literally can shout from my porch to their house and somebody will come a-calling. And that's another reason to really get to know your neighbors. So that is what's going on here. Okay, there was another question, Leah, and you don't even have to read it because I remember it. So many people asked about these cloches. So I'll show you these and then we'll go to the back and I'll show you the other ones, some from my QVC line, and these long kind of tubular ones from Gardener Supply, and we will put a link to them below. And I have these here. Number one, they provide a little bit of shade, but they also provide protection from the squirrels and any kind of digging pests, even birds, I guess. And they have just worked phenomenally. Look at how big these foxglove seedlings are getting. Another follower commented that in her experience, she had done this same thing, and she felt over time, anecdotally, that over time, she thought that the foxglove seedlings compromised the health of the host plant. And I have not found that to be the case, but you know, take that into account. If it's a plant you absolutely cannot bear to lose, then maybe you don't want to try it as a seeding trough. The seeding trough has been so successful. I've transplanted a lot of the boxwood basil to the back, and it has been so successful that after I pull out, I think all of these little baby boxwood seedlings, if I don't want to seed something else in there, either in this one or in a new trough, I am going to have a propagating trough where if I want to propagate cuttings of boxwood, of holly, of just whatever, that I could propagate it in that trough. And this area seems to be brilliant for that because the intensity of the sun is not nearly as drastic as it is in other areas of the garden, and also because it's very, very near my hose. So even on multiple times a day, I can come over and give these a sprinkle. So Stuart, let's take a minute. We'll go to the back and I'll show you the other type of gardening cloches that I find indispensable. Okay, I'm standing here in the shade as long as I possibly can. Let's take a moment, however, to look at two different things. Look at how pretty my steps look, I think. I just really felt it needed a pop of color. So geraniums it is. And some of that variety of geranium, whatever it is, actually I think that was a cutting from Carlina Elizabeth. Whatever it is, it's really doing pretty well. The other thing, and I've left these out here, so I'm glad they're out here because otherwise I would have forgotten that I wanted to show you. These are bug repellents, non-chemical bug repellents. And I saw these at a local restaurant, the Pest. We sat down to dine outside and they put one of these on the table. And I thought, what is that? And then realized that it was a bug repeller in specifically flies. Yeah. And now it didn't do 100%, but boy, did it reduce the amount of flies. So the other night when we were having a meeting out here in the evening, we tested them again. And indeed, they work. And they're inexpensive and they're non-chemical. The other thing I love is you may think, oh, but they look dangerous. No, no, these are not solar wind generators. These are bug deterrents, and they just take one AA battery, and they're wonderful. And I'm thinking if you were doing like a hostess gift basket, a lake basket, a whatever, we need to do a thank you basket for your friend Ben. This would be a fun thing to put in there. Oh, I've got a collision. 100% portable, chemical free, and we'll put a link to these. Oh, I lied, it takes 2 AA batteries. Soft fan blades, bug deflectors. Anyhow, I think these are great, and I don't know that they would really do much for mosquitoes, but I think they're really good for flies. Yeah, put one on. Oh, that would be cute. Yeah. So there you go. I want to move on and show you the other types of cloches, but those were a couple of things I wanted to share with you. So I wanted to show you where I've transplanted a lot of those seedlings of the boxwood basil. So they are in here in this planter box number 1 underneath the second form of cloches from Gardener Supply that I was telling you about earlier. Now these come in galvanized metal and I spray painted it black because that's what I wanted. And these are just great because they will deter digging squirrels, pecking animals, pretty much whatever. And they kind of do protect especially tender little seedlings in addition to providing a little bit of shade. Though in this location, that's not much of an issue. But I can't wait for their boxwood forms, their boxwood global forms to really fill out in here. I can really smell the fragrance. Now, Stuart, I'm sorry for this, but we're gonna have to step into the sun. Okay, so let's go over here. And I have not watered today yet, and this is definitely everyday watering season. So in my herb trough, you see that I've got a different kind of cloche. These, and honestly, I have to tell you, I'm not sure if these are still in my QVC line, which I'm really starting to fade out. Let's put it that way. But these were great, and they come in different finishes and all different sizes. And why I made a different form was because I wanted the stakes on them. And the stakes you can push down into the soil, or some of them come with stakes that you hook around the edge, because these can bend, that you hook around the edge and you secure them at the base. And I think that's really a wonderful thing. And as you can see, they come in different sizes, a trio of different sizes and in different finishes. And we'll check availability on those. Those are on QVC. And then once again, the initial ones were these expandable tunnel cloches. I think these are great looking. They look good, whether or not they are covering anything. So I anticipate in the winter I will leave them in place because they do look decorative and ornamental. Likewise, we will try to I got these 2 tours, and boy, these peppers are hot and they want some water. But I put these 2 tours I've had for a million years. If you're a longtime follower, you probably recognize them from the other house. But we will also try to put some links to 2 tours from Gardener Supply or other areas. So that's pretty much this out here. It is, like I say, it's hot as the dickens, and we're gonna run back inside for one final thing I wanna share with you guys. Okay, I'm just going to say it. We are all just slap happy from heat. We've been shooting all day, and it is just hot. And anyhow, wow. I know you guys get tired of hearing me complain about the heat. So I have another gift to show you. This is from my friend Kayla, who made this sign, Cottage on the Hill. We're going to put it on stakes, which will be hidden. So this will just probably rest right behind the brick border on the upper terrace, and I think it'll be really, really sweet. And was how kind of her to do that. Perfect, yeah, she's a good gal. Yeah, and it goes without saying that 99% of the people that I work with are also good friends. So that's nice.
Who's the 1%? Right?
Here's the 1%. I'll leave you guys to find that out yourself. Yeah, the top 1%. My dress, Leah told me I had to do an outfit of the day. My dress cool. I just got at Nordstrom Rack. We will try to find it or something similar and put a link. My sandals are from Target. My earrings are I love these earrings during the summer. My earrings are from Target, no, these were just, I think, online. We'll try to find a link to these too. Yeah, hoops from somewhere. I am a hoop whore. I don't know if I should have said that. Anyhow, yeah, I have to do some editing. But I love me some hoops. So there you go. We are going to go drink. Ignore Annie, what's the taco? Tacos, big truck taco stuff in the back, because we did stop to eat some lunch. And before we get too wacky on you, thanks. Another follower asked, where did I ultimately put my faux orchids with the real foliage? And they are right here on this console table in my little hallway, facing one another. They are kind of communicating with one another. I think they look really, really nice here, and they feel kind of summery to me. And it also made me feel as if I am not wasting the plant. I had the original plant for, since end of January, 1st of February, and they remained in bloom, and the foliage is still very, very happy. So I just put a bloom on it and called it a day. Okay, well, we've been standing out here assessing different kinds of plants, heat and drought tolerance. We all are wondering about our own personal heat and drought tolerances as we're constantly reaching for water and running to the shade. So always something to consider before you take up gardening as a hobby. Okay, next question.
Okay, Janice said, my favorite plant that was in your garden last year was the Agapanthus. I don't see it in your garden this year. Okay. Is there any Agapanthus?
Okay, so the answer to the Agapanthus question is, last year I did have a lot of it, And it was because at the very beginning of the year, I planted a lot of it straight from Southern Living Plants because I wanted to try and get it established here. It was a little bit of an experiment. It was glorious while it was here, and if I indeed wanted to do it as an annual every year, I could, and probably will at some point in containers. But I do have some representation of it. I've got some ever white, several clumps here. The sun is just really too strong for you to be able to see very well.
Oh, we can see it.
I've got, I believe this is ever amethyst. Well, and this was not supposed to be frost tolerant, and it came back, and there's a bud and there's another one. And then indigo frost, I've got one in another area of the garden. And also this is kind of its time where it's just now starting to bloom kind of heavily, I think. Again, for me, remember, this is my first full year here at the cottage. So there is some, but not as much as last year. Do I continue to love it? Yes, but I'm just having to figure out a way to get it to persist, and in what form from one season to the next. Now, Leah just mentioned to me that there was another question, speaking of blooming, something about Edom, Sodom, joy. Okay, Eden, Sodom, joy. Okay, that's rather biblical. Sedum, autumn, joy. And what was that question?
They said, is that autumn joy sedum blooming in June? Oklahoma is wild.
Yes, Oklahoma is wild. And yes, actually this was given to me by a friend. I believe it is sedum autumn joy. It is already blooming, partly because I never pinched it back to delay its bloom, but it's also blooming because here it is in pretty much 100% sun at all times, which it can handle. So it's very much a recommended plant for me. It is a brilliant pollinator. Not a ton of pollinating activity going on here in the heat of the day, but it is absolutely wonderful. I love it. Stuart, since we're not in the heat right now, let's take a look right here down this way, because I spy some Agapanthus there.
Yeah.
And all sorts of other things. So now it's the hot season. And so now out come the zinnias, out come the butterfly candy, out come the cleome, out come things that have been waiting in the wings, more verbena bonariensis, just other things that have been waiting in the wings for the hot weather to arrive. It has indeed done that. And now when we are out here, we run out in the cool of the morning and run back in before the heat hits. We've actually had some beautiful cool mornings, but I think those are soon going to be a thing of the past. Leah, was there any other question?
Well, just my question.
Oh, Leah has a question.
My beginner gardener question, because
okay.
I've started gardening now.
Okay.
What does it mean to let something go to seed, and how do I do that?
Okay, this is one of those things where I sometimes, because I've done it for a long time, I say let something go to seed as if anybody should know what that is. And if you are a new gardener, you don't know what that is. Okay, letting something go to seed means that once it flowers, number one, you can deadhead them to keep more flowers coming, but you can also let them go to seed, where it's putting its energy into propagating itself so that there will be future generations. So what is about to go to seed? Yeah, yes, it's poetic.
It is.
In case you guys haven't noticed, Leah has like the softest heart, and everything makes her cry. Are you going to start crying
Probably.
now? Probably. So things that are about going to seed, if I leave them and I don't pull them out, are this golden feverfew. And you can see as it gets really hot, the blooms begin to fade, and then nothing but the seed head remains. It will soon dry, and then the dried seed head will go to seed, drop its seed, and therefore I am letting it go to seed.
And you'll just leave it there?
Yes. So have you ever heard the expression, you've let yourself go to seed?
No.
So when you're not taking care of yourself going into old age, you're letting yourself go to seed. Maybe that's a farming reference. Okay, here's another perfect example of that, because this is happening right now. And by the way, you guys, while we're here, notice that I have really separated the trunks on this Jane Magnolia now because I really want it to grow wide. So here's another example of letting something go to seed, and that is the larkspur. It is something that is going to go to seed right now, momentarily. So here's the difference. Let me pluck this. Okay. Here we have a bud. Okay, bud. Here we have bloom. Hope you guys can see
I
that.
think we can, yeah.
And here we have it's going to seed. Now, when these seed pods brown, they will drop the seed inside, which is still immature. And right now the seed is still white, but when it's mature, it's black, little black pellets. And when those drop, then they go to seed and they will come back next year. So technically it's an annual, but it will come back every year because it goes to seed and then I let it come back. Cleome is the same way. Celosia is the same way. Those are some other self-seeders I have here. Zinnias can be the same way. Verbena bonariensis. Those are some of my favorite self-seeders. I should do something.
Can my vegetables do that?
Some of your yeah, okay, perfect example. Okay, so
Guys,
over
you're
here.
learning with me right now.
So whatever this was growing,
Oh yeah.
and I did not plant it, but whatever it is growing. And look here, these are the seed pods. It's some kind of green. Here's
Like
the seed
tiny
pods.
green beans.
Yeah, tiny green beans. The seeds in here are immature because the pods haven't browned yet, but there's a seed. And I've just decided to leave it here.
It's kind of cool looking.
Yeah, leave it here. It's pretty yellow.
And
It
it's so
hovers.
tall. I
It's
like
so
that.
tall. The pollinators like
Whimsical.
it. But if this went to seed here, I would happily let it go to seed, come up, and then I could plant it where I wanted it, like
We
back
still
in
don't know
there.
what it is,
It's some kind of green.
because we do have an audience that likes to figure these things
Yes.
out.
Now the other thing is, yes, tell me what this is. It's maybe a mustard green or something. And I do not remember planting it. It must have been a seed that dropped out of a seed package or something. Now you say, well, why would you not let everything
It
go to
says
seed?
wild mustard.
Wild mustard,
Ooh.
okay. You would not let everything go to seed, and that's because they start looking ratty. The plant itself down below starts looking ratty, so you can remove the leaves.
Well, if you wanted seed from something, you could
But if
let
you
a
want it, you
small
could
thing,
let
a
it
section of it go to seed.
Go to seed, and that's what I'm doing with certain things. It's what I did with the foxglove, like this foxglove is going to seed. And then here's an example of going to seed, Leah. So there was a foxglove here. It bloomed. It went to seed, and then these pods dried. Then they fell over, and they went to seed in this pot.
Isn't that neat?
Oh my god.
And all of
That's so cool.
those are baby foxglove, which is what gave me the inspiration to do a seeding trough and do it intentionally rather than happenstance.
Planted by the
That makes
wind.
me cry.
Yes.
Actually, I don't know
That
why.
does, yes, that does
Just
make,
the baby fox.
I know, it does make her cry. So now before we really wilt like the rest of these
Yeah.
things in the garden that are waiting to be watered, we'll say au revoir.
Okay.
Au revoir. Go inside, hydrate, get out of the sun, and have a great weekend.